pull back the case, rotate it, and now pull the gear out. There you go. So you do not have to take the axle off to get your input gear out.
Oh, that's fun. Hello folks, welcome to Netcruzer RC. I am out with the Granite 4x4 and it's been a while since you've seen this, and I have made a significant change to it. I put in a VXL system. Brand new VXL 3500 motor and the VXL 3S from my Slash 4x4. This will be the first ever test of the VXL system on my Granite. I'm gonna go right for 3S LiPo, and I kept the gearing at the stock 14 tooth 48 pitch gears. So stock gearing, but now with 3S power, brushless motor. Let's go take it for a rip and see how well it does. Now, unfortunately, it is a very wet, windy, overcast day today. I've got this parking lot, as well as there's a construction site right over there, so we'll go test it out. The VXL fan's a little bit noisy, but there you go. 3S power. First pull, 3S. Ooh, it seems like the slipper needs to be tightened up quite a bit, but I have no tools out with me today, so. Remember guys, this has no TSM, no stability. We're just gonna go for it. Slipper's loose, but whatever. So that's topped out. It's topped out on 3S. Go around. Definitely need to tighten up that slipper. Oh, just ballooning it to the front. We already snapped that rear. Wow, it's already snapped that rear input shaft. Now it's only front wheel drive. That took no time at all. Wow, that sucks. Alright, well there's no point in really going any farther when the rear input shaft is already broken, so... Holy, it's windy. Frig sakes! Okay, we're going to take it back to the workshop and I'll show you what the problem is. Alright, well I'm back at the workshop with the Granite 4x4. The most likely thing that broke on this on that first run is the input gear. Now I did have this on hand, but I decided to see how much power can the stock part take. Not much at all. The stock piece was 100% plastic, and they came out with this new HD version which adds some metal to the input part of it. They can't make this outer gear metal because they've designed it so gigantic that if the ring and pinion were to become metal on this car, you would need like 8S to drive it. It is ridiculously oversized. On the brushless version, something to note is that the pitch of the teeth are different. So if you do want to upgrade your Mega 4x4 Arrma, you do need this part, which is 310773. Now, when I installed the VXL system, I did have the power module out, but I didn't see how to get the diff out, and the diffs are supposed to be an easy access thing as well. So I'm just going to start working on getting the power module back out of the vehicle, and then we will I'll show you how to get the diff out. XL3S as well was just double-sided taped to the top of the receiver box because the screw mount locations didn't perfectly line up. There are two screws that the old one just screwed on top, but the VXL, it's like a couple of millimeters off. Let's start getting the power module off. There's a red retaining part of the battery tray in here, and that needs to come out. To remove this screw here, just pull this one out. That holds this red in place, so you can just start sliding this out of the way. But before you do that, you have to get the center drive shaft out. That's a toolless design to get the center drive shaft out. All you have to do is you just pull on it and pivot it up out of the way, and then pull forward from the front part, wiggle it. Oh, that's being stubborn.
There it goes. Okay, drive shaft is out. Now once you get the drive shaft out, you just need to pivot this out of the way. So just start prying on that. You just need to pull this back. I'm gonna keep prying on it and it'll pull straight out this way. This does get pretty tight in here with dirt, mud and stuff, so you do need to pry on this quite a bit and then it does come off. And this again just flips up out of the way because you're trying to remove all of the things that are blocking this power module from sliding forward. Now that that's done, the power module is ready to come out, but first of all, you do want to take out a screw from the underneath of this cable retainer clip and get the cabling just disconnected from your ESC and have all of the cabling of the motor free and ready to move aside. Motor's been disconnected from the ESC and I've just moved it aside. If you do have the stock system on, you pull out these two screws and then you can remove your ESC as well as the lid to the receiver box would come up. But now all I have to do is pry this power module back. So they give you this pull tab, but I'll tell you, the very first time that you remove this, it is very, very tight. You cannot do it by hand. You do have to kind of get a pry tool in here. While you're pulling up on the back part, just start prying it out. And eventually it will come. Pulling up on this while pulling on the motor and wiggling it and getting it to pull back. There it goes. Okay. So yeah, pry on the outside area and then it'll just pop right off. While you're pulling up on that pull tab, pry on the outside of either edge and it will just pull back. And now this is your power module. It has these triangular wedges on either edge and they key into the chassis down here, and then the upper clip clips on here, and the other pieces are just blocking it in so it can't back its way out. That's all there is to it. And also, if you ever have to change your spur or your pinion gear, you have to take this whole module out, and then you take off the 3 or 4 screws that are on the outside cover, and then you would be able to service your gears. Now it is the part that broke that I thought. So the broken stock part is inside of there and I need to get that out. The other end will be stuck in here. Now I've never had the diff out of this yet, so I do need to figure out how do you get this out. Now the best way to get the broken shaft out of here is with a self-tapping screw. So I just hand tight this in a little bit and then you can just pull the broken shaft right out. Right on. So this is the part that's now metal on the upgraded HD version. And it's the metal goes inside of that now. So this part should be able to handle up to brushless power. Now it's dark in here, but it looks to me like the diff case does split this way. So I do need to take the screws out of the rear bumper up here, some of the screws of the shocks, and then this clamshell of the diff area will pull off. Okay, I did have to take my T-Bone Racing bumper off. Again, if you have the stock bumper, you would just have to take out the 2 screws that are holding this upper part on to the rear of the diff case. Need access to these 2 screws that go all the way through the diff case, and you can see them poking out the very top at the front edge right there. So there's some giant screws that go all the way through this thing, and I need to get those out next. Get these 2 big screws out. Look at them, they go all the way through from the bottom all the way through the diff case. So you need to get these 2 out, and now we should be getting close to being able to pull the diff case up off the top. Shock screws removed, these 2 screws removed, and the 2 screws removed out of the back. This whole thing should just lift off. Yep, there we go. And then here's access to my diff. Oh, and it's contraption as well. So now this module needs to be disconnected from the axles and figure out how do I get this case apart to get this gear out of here. Look at the size of this thing. That's what they marketed as having these giant diffs, but they're all plastic. If it was metal, you wouldn't even be able to, you'd get very poor performance out of it if it was metal. Just undid the screw of one of the links. This upper link here, I just undid the screw and then put it back in to hold its place, because now that should give me enough play where I can pull one of the axle half shafts out and then just pull out the other half, and now I've got this module, and that's what I need to service. So at this point the truck can just be set aside and it'll come back when you're ready for reassembly. How do I get into this to get that gear out of here? Case is split down the middle. Take the 2 screws out of the diff case, which is this here, and then you pull back the case, rotate it, and now pull the gear out. There you go. So you do not have to take the axle off to get your input gear out. Cool, so there's the broken gear. It runs on these 2 bearings. Oh, that one I'm gonna have to pry off. Getting this bearing off is proving to be difficult. It's gonna take patience and time and a flathead screwdriver, and just start wedging it. Just keep wedging it around and around and around. I've probably been working on it for 5 minutes or so. I've got it moved a little bit, but it's still stuck on there. Okay, that was not easy. That took a good 10 to 20 minutes to get that last bearing off of this. Patience is a virtue. Just keep prying away at it. Again, try not to ruin the bearing though, because these are you know, these are not really a standard size bearings that you would have on hand. Make sure that it actually is doing its job properly after you get it out. Clean them up a little bit and then ready to transfer to the new gear. Okay, I added some grease to the gears, as well as note that when you put the bearings back on, don't smush them right together because there is a gap here. So play around with it, make sure it fits into the diff case properly, because there is a gap in between the bearings. So now I'm ready to just rotate this side into position and screw it back together. It is fixed. Now it's time for reassembly, and reassembly is just the opposite of removal. So throw everything back together and then we'll go and take it for a rip outside. Okay, we are back in business. Transmitter on, ESC on. Yeah, buddy. Sweet. Let's go take it outside.
All right, we now have the new HD input gear. Let's see how it runs. I've also tightened up the slipper a little bit. Oh, that's way better. What is going on here? Stop. Oh, that's fun. That's 3S. That's 3S with the 14-tooth pinion. That's pretty quick. Close to being able to flip over on itself. If it wasn't for the big bumpers, I think it might have been able to. It's a fun little thing. Alrighty guys, it's freezing. Okay, if you enjoyed this, hit that like button. If you're new around here, subscribe. If you want to talk to me, leave a comment down below. And as always, thanks for watching.